Hi and welcome to another Stax video tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to have a look at adding transitioning banners to a Stax application. Now these have often been the domain of the likes of Lightbox, which should do a very good job, but often lack flexibility when it comes to the design, or if you want to customize the design, then it means you're going to have to dive into the back end and start changing things. On the Stax platform, all you need to do is come up with your design first, so whichever images you want in the banners, then design your buttons, and then link the two together and just tell it that it's a transitioning banner. So you can design it however you want with complete flexibility without having to get your hands dirty at all. So there's three main steps to creating a banner in Stax. The first is to create your banner image itself. Then to create a button group which controls the banner pop-up or transition, and the third is to wire the controls together. So let's have a look at how this is done. I've loaded up my demonstration application, and the first thing I'm going to do is drag in a background image. So this will be the default image for the banner. Once the image has appeared, what I'm going to do is make sure that the canvas layer is selected, then go to the dynamic option in the controls and set it to scale. What this will do is make sure that the image scales to the constraints of the canvas. Essentially this will be our default background. Once I've set the background to dynamic, I then want to drag in a new group, and I'm going to make the group the same size as the entire canvas. Now for the first layer group that you create in the banner, what you need to do is drag in the same image that you used for your background. After the image has gone in, just drag it so it scales to the same size as the canvas. Once I've done that, what I'm going to do is click on the layer group and just rename it so I know what that layer is. I'm also going to set the visibility of that layer group to off. Now to create the next slide in our transition, what I'm going to do is repeat the process again but without the background. So I'm going to drag in a new group. I'm going to scale up the group so it's the size of the canvas, and then I'm going to drag a different image into that group and scale that image up so it's the size of the canvas as well. I'm also going to make sure that I rename the layer to an intelligible name so I can tell which one it is. Then finally I'm going to set the visibility of that layer to off. To add more banners to your transition, all you need to do is repeat the process by creating a layer group, then dragging an image, renaming the group, and turning the visibility to off. What we're going to have a look at now is wiring in the control so we can navigate through the transition. So first things first, what I'm going to do is create a new group which is going to contain our buttons. These are the buttons which are going to control the transition. So I'm going to drag in the group and reposition it, and then I'm going to drag in a button control. Now, this is just standard button control. What I'm going to do is then drag in some images. These are just round bullet images. You might notice that I'm dragging in two images over the button control. The first one ending in _DEF is the default image for the default state of the button. And the second one, ending _OVR, is the image the system will use for the hover over. Because I've got three slides in my banner, what I need to do is create three buttons using exactly the same process. Once I've done that, I can then move on to wire the buttons up to each slide. So again, just to make life a little easier for me, I'm going to name each of the buttons something that I understand. In this case, I'm going to name the button after the banner layer that it's going to control. So I've got a baby group, a boy group, and a C group, and I'm going to call each button after each respective group. I then need to move on to wire up the button. So I click on the button I want to control first of all, and then I go to type and click on pop-up dialog. Then on click, I need to set to the name of the group. And finally, under the action drop down, I need to change it to a banner type. I then repeat the process for each of the buttons and link them to their respective groups. And after I finish doing that, I'm then at a point where I can publish the application and I can test it in a browser. So here we have our banner in the browser with the 3 buttons in the top right, and as you can see, by clicking each of the buttons it then transitions between each of the slides. And that's all there is to adding a transitioning banner to a Stax application. I hope this has been useful.